Who is Michael Lewis? Caitlin Clark stalker sentenced to over 2 years in prison. Caitlin Clark's online harassment by a man named Michael Lewis came to light when the latter was sentenced to 2.5 years of imprisonment on charges of sending hundreds of threatening and sexually explicit messages to the Indiana Fever player since 2023, BBC reported. Who is Michael Lewis? The Texas man has followed a repeated pattern of stalking and harassing Clark by sending her disturbing images on social media and making lewd comments publicly. On December 27, he wrote about having sensual feelings for Clark, followed by a December 31 message which said that he had intentions to touch himself when he thought about her, per marker. The most nerve-wracking message came through in January when he wrote, "This is 911, what is your emergency? Caitlin fell in the snow and we can't find her anywhere. It's like she disappeared. Brass monkey, that funky monkey, brass monkey junkie, that funky monkey." Indiana Fever interest thrives even without Caitlin Clark. Breaking news: WNBA viewership drops when Caitlin Clark doesn't play. That includes games involving the Indiana Fever and of course across the entire league as well. But said subject has been covered plenty. Underneath the obvious is another interesting story: the fact that the Fever continue to outpace the rest of the league whether Clark plays or not. This is of course a testament to fans growing attached to the team as a whole and supporting the squad that has had to make do without the transcendent superstar for much of the 2025 season. Indiana Fever lead WNBA ratings. All of the most watched games this year have involved the Fever, which should come as no surprise. However, Indiana's games without Clark continue to outpace the rest of the WNBA. The best way to illustrate this is to note that the Las Vegas Aces vs New York Liberty contest from July 8 was the most viewed ESPN WNBA non-Fever regular season game since 1999. The Liberty victory notched 701,000 viewers. Meanwhile, the Fever vs Liberty game from July 22, without Clark, drew nearly 1.2 million viewers on the same network. The above continues a trend. For instance, the Fever's game against the Dallas Wings on June 27 pulled over 1 million viewers in another contest without Clark playing. That made it the highest-rated game Clark did not play in ever aired on ION. Then there are the contests against the Chicago Sky. Sunday's Fever Sky game drew strong numbers even without both Clark and Angel Reese playing. The Fever win snagged 1.5 million viewers on ABC, which pairs with the 1.9 million who saw Indiana's previous victory over the Sky that aired on CBS, both games Clark missed and both ranking in the top 10 most watched WNBA broadcasts this season. To be clear, that's a far cry from the season opener between the two aforementioned squads, which was the most watched game ever aired on ESPN platforms, nabbing an audience of 2.7 million on ABC. Still, it's clear that fans are supporting Kelsey Mitchell and company in her backcourt mate's absence. Because though Clark remains the biggest driver of interest in the WNBA, by far her team is still on top of the rest of the pack ratings-wise when she is sidelined. Texas man sentenced to 30 months for stalking Caitlin Clark. A 55-year-old man from Texas was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison after pleading guilty to stalking Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark, according to a report published by ESPN. Michael Lewis of Denton, Texas admitted to 1 felony count of stalking and 1 misdemeanor count of harassment in a plea deal with Marion County prosecutors. Court records show he claimed to be in an imaginary relationship with the 23-year-old WNBA player. Lewis has been held at the Marion County Adult Detention Center since his arrest and will receive credit for time already served. In addition to the prison sentence, a judge ordered Lewis to stay away from Gainbridge Fieldhouse, Hinkle Fieldhouse, Indiana Fever and Pacers events and to have no contact with Clark. He was also banned from accessing the internet while serving his sentence according to terms of the plea agreement. Clark, who was selected first overall in the 2024 WNBA draft, quickly became one of the league's biggest names. She has continued to draw national attention with her historic on-court performances. As a rookie, Clark broke the league's single-season assist record, surpassed the rookie mark for three-pointers made, and led the Fever to their first postseason appearance since 2016. Her popularity also made her a target. Law enforcement officials said Lewis traveled to Indiana believing he was in a romantic relationship with Clark and made repeated attempts to contact her and attend team-related events. Court documents indicated that his behavior escalated to direct harassment, leading to his arrest earlier this year. Opinion: she wrote the book on Caitlin Clark, Christine Brennan on the WNBA's missed opportunity. In April 2024, two things were seemingly true about the WNBA. One was that it was given a glorious gift, with Caitlin Clark, the most famous and popular college women's basketball player of all time, joining the league. And two, it was completely unprepared for that gift. You could make the argument that no athlete has ever moved the needle of a sport quite like Clark has with women's basketball. The only other athlete even in that conversation is Tiger Woods. Yet, the WNBA, pretty much from the start, has had difficulty taking full advantage of Clark, a case laid out well in the latest book by USA Today columnist Christine Brennan titled On Her Game: Caitlin Clark and the Revolution in Women's Sports. Brennan is my guest on the latest Pointer Report podcast, which is out today. She is not only moving the needle, Brennan said of Clark. She is the needle. In her book, Brennan touches on Clark's upbringing and the impact she has had on basketball. But the most interesting parts are Brennan's examination of how the league handled this one-in-a-lifetime gift. It's easy to see how the WNBA bungled Clark's arrival. In the podcast, we discuss how legendary players downplayed Clark's abilities, how Clark was left off the US Olympic team, and an incident in which the Players' Union of the WNBA tried to get Brennan's credentials revoked. And Brennan recalls the story from her book when she talked to someone in the WNBA office who compared Clark's arrival to that of Maya Moore, a great basketball player, but far from a cultural phenomenon. It tells us everything Brennan told me. The WNBA was completely unprepared for what was coming with Caitlin Clark. Completely unprepared for the national scrutiny that was going to come. Not preparing the players for the moment. Brennan adds, so I'm very pleased with that anecdote, even if as a human being I'm sad to see that anecdote. But as a journalist, of course you go with the story. You don't get to have emotions in the middle of it, you know. And that to me is as telling an anecdote as I have in the book. So check out the podcast. Aside from watching on YouTube, you can also find the show on Apple, Spotify, and most places where you find podcasts. Also, check out Brennan's book, which has been near the top of the New York Times bestseller list.